I'm going to go ahead and hit record so we can get started. So before we dive in, I want to kick off a round of staff introductions. So my name is Vanessa Cassio. I am the Program and Policy Manager for Safe Routes Partnership. I'm actually managing the coordination of our Colorado Activating Communities program this year. I am currently based in Washington, D.C., but I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona. And before joining the partnership, I actually worked for a local nonprofit in Tucson and coordinating their Safe Routes to School program. And we were actually an Activating Communities recipient, and I had the opportunity to work with Natasha and Marisa on our park access issues in Tucson. So it's really great to be on the other side of this and working alongside them. So I want to give them a chance to introduce themselves. They are part of our team here. Natasha, I'll pass the mic to you, and then Marisa, you can say hello too.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Hi, everybody. I'm Natasha Riveron. I'm the Healthy Parks and Places Manager at Safe Routes Partnership. And Vanessa and I work together to support local groups. And then I'm also working with state level agencies working on Safe Routes to Parks. Later, in that we have been working with state level folks in Colorado on Safe Routes to Parks and ways to better support local work. And so we're very excited to sort of kick off this work at the local level in Colorado. And then from a personal perspective, I lived in Colorado Springs for a good amount of time. And so I have a strong connection to Colorado. And I'll pass it off to Marisa.
Thanks, Natasha.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks so much. We're so delighted to be here with you today virtually. My name is Marisa Jones. I'm the Policy and Partnerships Director at Safe Routes Partnership. I'm based in Philadelphia, and I've been working on our Safe Routes to Parks work for the last 7 years. So really from co-conceiving of it with the National Recreation and Parks Association, piloting it, and then rolling it out in communities all across the country. We were so thrilled to work with the team at the state level in Colorado this past year, and really excited to be getting to work on the ground with communities in Colorado this coming year. I'll pass it back to Vanessa.
Thanks, Natasha, Marisa. And they're going to be, popping in and helping us answer Q&As and all that. So you'll hear more from them later on. But we're really curious about you all here joining us. We're so excited by the turnout for this info session. So if you don't mind taking a moment to introduce yourself in the chat box, tell us who you are, your organization, and where you are in Colorado. Oh, I think we have, if you don't mind putting yourselves on mute, and that way we can all hear the rest of the presentation. But again, here in the chat box, tell us who you are, your organization, and where you are in Colorado. We'd love to know. As you do that, I'm going to go ahead and move us along here just to let's see here. Oh yeah, we got a good geographic diversity of the state here. That's awesome. So as you do that, I want to briefly go over what we hope to accomplish during our info session today. So we want to give you all plenty of time for your questions about the Activating Communities program. But before we dive into your questions, we do want to take some time to give you just some basic background information on Safe Routes to Parks, our approach and our program goals. We also are so thrilled to have our partners here from Colorado State, including Braden Nicholson, who will pass the mic over to so they can talk a little bit about their state level initiative to increase access to parks. And then we'll dive more into the program itself, the second half of our presentation, to really walk you through the specific strategies we will be focusing on in Colorado, eligibility, what you can expect to accomplish during the program period, and then we'll leave some Q&A portion at the end. But feel free to use the chat box as questions come up for you. Natasha will be helping me to field questions as they come in and moderating the chat for us. Oh, awesome. We got some schoolyard folks. Great. Thank you all for joining us. All right, so I'm going to move us along to share with you a little bit about our definition. How do we define safe routes to parks? What is a safe route to a park? So the way that we define safe routes to parks is the Safe Routes to Parks is a movement to make great parks safer and easier for people to access by walking, biking, and taking public transportation, especially in low-income communities and communities of color where less investment has gone into the routes to and the amenities in parks. And really, we do this work because safe places to walk, bike, and connect with nature directly contribute to, physical, mental. And the Safe Routes to Parks initiative was originally developed through a grant from the Centers for Disease Control and the National Recreation and Parks Association to support more walking and increasing walkability. So the NRPA, the National Recreation and Parks Association, invited us, Safe Routes Partnership, to work with the Trustwork Public Land and the American Planning Association to create what we now call the Safe Routes to Parks Action Framework, which really now serves as the foundation for the work we have done over the past few years to improve safe and equitable access to parks. The process that we use is really well summarized by the graphic on the right, with community engagement really being at the core of the planning process. Assess, plan, and implement, and then we do it all over again, and this becomes really a way of doing the work ongoing rather than just a one-time project. And our Activating Communities program really does aim to help local organizations partner with community leadership and local government agencies to really build on the community's assets and address community priorities. Over the long term, our hope is that with increased safety and accessibility, Safe Routes to Parks really does increase park usage and improve health and well-being for people of all ages, races, abilities, and income levels. And in order to do this, we provide tailored technical assistance over the course of 9 months through our Activating Communities program, along with a $10,000 grant award. And this year, we're looking to award 4 nonprofit organizations based in the state of Colorado. Communities that are selected will work closely with Safe Routes Partnership staff from January through September 2024 to really proactively engage community members to focus on a single program strategy. And we will spend a little bit of time talking about, what are these program strategies that I keep mentioning. So really helping you implement one of these strategies and then actually doing something through an early action that really sparks further momentum. But we're really excited this year because we also have a unique opportunity in Colorado where there is state level support for Safe Routes to Parks. And the team will be, the state team will be actively supporting the selected communities and helping them connect to the right resources. And in fact, we are thrilled to have our partners at the state team here with us. So I'm gonna actually, looking at my messages. I'm gonna actually kick it off to Braden Nicholson. Braden is here with us from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And Braden's gonna introduce her team, but also talk a little bit about their cross-agency work to integrate Safe Routes to Parks into their plans and programs to give you all a better sense of how this local work also is really building off of some of that state level momentum. So Braden, I don't know if you are here. I'm gonna,
Perfect.
There we go.
Thank you. So thanks, Vanessa. So as Vanessa kind of said, the goals of the Activating Communities Grant Program that you all are here for right now connect to the Safe Routes to Parks work that we've been doing over the last year at the state level. So we're here today to share a little bit more about what we've been doing as state agencies. So we'll start out and just briefly introduce our Colorado team. So it's myself, I'm right there at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, as Vanessa said. And join with me is Annalise and Casey. So if you two would mind coming on camera and unmuting and just introducing yourself briefly.
Sure. I'm Casey Miller. I'm the planning manager for Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and I spend a lot of my time doing park management plans for our state parks.
Annalise, I don't know if you're able to come off of mute at all, but Annalise did introduce herself in the chat as well. So she works at the Colorado Department of Transportation, and she is the state bicycle and pedestrian coordinator. So she does a lot of the biking and pedestrian infrastructure work and safe routes to school work at the state level. And in my role, I work at the intersection of public health and urban and regional planning and how we design our communities to support physical activity, promote public health. And oh, Annalise said she can't figure out her microphone. That's okay. You're here in spirit. So thanks for introducing yourself in the chat. I'm sure a lot of you already know Annalise anyways. So yeah, that's us as the Colorado team. And next slide. So we've been working with Safe Routes Partnership over the last year, as we've kind of talked about, and Colorado was selected as only one of 3 states for the inaugural cohort of the Safe Routes to Parks Accelerator Program. That was us, the Colorado team that was selected. So CDPHE as well as CDOT and then CPW. And the purpose of this was for us to work together to improve safe, convenient, accessible, and equitable walking, rolling, and biking routes to parks and open spaces across our state, while also implementing projects and programs to support local communities' park access needs, similar to what Natasha said at the beginning. And we have been participating in this program since October of 2022 last year. Next slide, please. So we want to briefly talk about and touch on some of the work that we've been doing over the last year with Safe Routes Partnership, develop what we are calling a Safe Routes to Parks Action Plan, to be able to enhance our coordination, align our planning processes, connect existing grant programs and technical assistance opportunities, as well as to make it easier to install infrastructure for biking, walking, rolling, and access to. So we have some action items shown up here on the screen. This isn't all of them, but this is just an overview of them. We want to briefly share, we just wanted to briefly share this. So some of those include understanding our local community's needs, and 2 ways we were able to do that was we added in a Safe Routes to Parks, a few Safe Routes to Parks questions into the Safe Routes to School strategic planning survey, which some of you all may have taken yourselves, so thanks if you did. And then also we were able to add Safe Routes to Parks questions into the land manager survey that went out this year for the update to the statewide comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, which is through CPW. And then thinking about how we can align Safe Routes to Parks efforts with Safe Routes to School. And then another one is developing messaging and compiling a case study library of examples across the state on projects specifically for Safe Routes to Parks. So there's many other things that we've been doing, but we just wanted to highlight a few. And we're super excited and looking forward to the Activating Communities grant funding opportunity through Safe Routes to through Safe Routes Partnership that you all are here for today, to be able to support that long-term vision of equitable park access at the taking what we've been doing at the state level and making it more actually advance this work. So super excited about that. We are glad that we were able to join today and introduce our more about our action plan that we've been working on, and we look forward to
And I really want to talk about ELA before
working
tomorrow,
with
so you can
the
do that, okay?
thanks.
Thanks so much, Brayden.
Thanks.
Sorry, it took me, I had a bit of a delay there. Thanks so much, Brayden, Annalise, and Casey. One thing I wanted to add is that, Safe Routes Partnership has been, I think this is the 7th cohort of activating communities, and Marisa, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been great to work with the state team to make, tweaks and modifications to make this program work better for Colorado communities, and like that collaboration will continue as we work with the 4 communities in Colorado to make sure like there's the Colorado specific resources and practices and processes really will help to guide the planning and the implementation of that work. So thanks again for joining us today and for all that great background information. So I want to switch gears here. Now that we have a little bit of background, like, oh, what is Safe Routes to Parks? What's been going on at the state level in Colorado? I want to talk a little bit about the 4 program strategies that we are looking to support selected communities in implementing. And so when you fill out our grant application, we will ask you to identify or select one of the 4 strategies that we're going to be outlining in these next 4 slides that you feel might be a good fit for your community. So as we're kind of going over these, I encourage you to think about, this strategy will really like resonate in my community or really help to further the goals that we've had but have been getting stuck on. So really kind of, as we're talking about these 4 strategies, have that in the back of your mind of like, oh, which ones might be a good fit for us? Because we are really hoping that the communities that we are supporting have some focused goals on kind of advancing one of these strategy areas. So with that, I will go ahead and dive right into our 4 program strategies, starting with the first of integrating Safe Routes to Parks into Safe Routes. This is an area that we're really excited about because we know that Colorado already has a very robust Safe Routes to School network and programming already in place. And we also know that the same strategies that help get kids safely to and from school can be applied to improve everyone. So this kind of really can build work that's already going on to really incorporate spaces. So communities who are interested in this strategy, we can help you to identify ways to expand on maybe your current or existing program that generate enthusiasm for biking and walking for students, like leveraging those encouragement activities that you already might be doing, like the walk to school days or the bike education and the bike rodeos, to help you kind of leverage those encouragement activities to connect to parks and really grow a community of support for active travel beyond schools. So we can guide you on how to engage community members to assess and activate those routes that help them connect to parks and schools. We can help you to identify funding for improvements that address safety for people walking, rolling, and biking. So here we list a few examples of what we call sort of early actions or ways that our grant funds can be applied to advance this strategy. So for instance, you might want to host a bike and roll to school day based in a park, or activate a route between a school and a park, just sort of like in that photo there. One of our past grantee communities did this great route activation and wayfinding signs between a school and a park with colorful markings, and simply like working to improve or add infrastructure between a park and a school. So that's one of the strategies that we're really excited about, and really engaging youth, families, but then expanding that work to also include parks and park users. So another program strategy that we are really interested in, and sort of dovetails with Safe Routes to School, but also beyond the school setting, is really helping communities install what we call traffic gardens and using these tools to elevate park access needs. So I have a couple photos here on the slide, but traffic gardens are these really like colorful installations, sort of like a network of mini streets, a mini city, right? To help young kids learn how to safely navigate their community on bicycle. And you can see a couple of examples in the photos here of students using these traffic gardens, young bike riders learning to navigate streets in these little mini cities. So part of the work, if this is a strategy your community is interested in, part of what we could help you with is really work to install or at least pilot temporary traffic gardens to build partnerships with parks and repurposing asphalt or those underutilized courts and support programming to increase more park use, and using these as activities to really build community engagement and buy-in, measuring how these installations might increase park use. We can also help you to think through or strategize like, oh, how do we use these traffic gardens as sort of like a jumping off point for engaging our community around safer walking and biking and rolling throughout our community and to and from the park. So those are a few ways that we can help you. And obviously, like, you can use these grant funds to actually install either temporary or permanent traffic gardens. The planning costs, the paint, the different material costs that might go into these installations, as well as support like evaluation and community engagement activities to really both activate these and also measure, how are these changing perceptions about the park use or parks or the routes to parks themselves. So we're really excited about traffic gardens, and we think this is a really great and playful way to sort of build partnerships across different agencies. The third strategy we have outlined is really focused on helping communities apply for federal transportation funds, and thinking about using and leveraging these funds to sustain longer term planning. And so when we think about this strategy, we're thinking about specifically helping communities apply for next year's round of Safe Streets for All planning grants. And this is a very specific grant opportunity through the U.S. Department of Transportation. And this would allow communities to secure additional funds to develop what's called a comprehensive safety action plan, and really helping communities collect data and sort of an in-depth analysis around bike crash corridors. It also would allow for funding to be used on demonstration projects. So thinking about actually trying out or piloting some interventions that improve safety. And so on the right there are some of the awards granted in the 2022 cycle, but the 2023 cycle just got announced last week, so I didn't have time to update this slide. But I think it's worth mentioning that every community that applied this initial year was funded. Every community that applied for a planning grant was funded. And so we're really happy at the level of support that there is for these planning grants, and feel like it can be a really great way to elevate community priorities into this like more system-wide plans and we can certainly help you to put together your grant application, identify, plan, and evaluate your demonstration projects. And the great thing is that you can use this grant fund through our Safe Routes to Parks grant as a match for this planning grant. And you can certainly use it to do other community engagement and assessment activities that might support your planning grant, like walk audits or pop-up events or community surveys. So we're really excited about this particular strategy as well, and how it can support Safe Routes to Parks and beyond. Now I think I'm gonna hand it over to Natasha to talk a little bit about traffic calming zones.
Vanessa, I also want to flag that there are some specific questions about the strategies in the chat box. And so I don't know if we want to answer those maybe after we've presented the 4 strategies, or if we want to leave them till the end, but I'll cover this one and we can make a call on that. So this final strategy is around traffic calming. So traffic calming just means slowing cars down. And this is really focused on slowing traffic speeds, which can be a really major reason why people may not feel safe walking, biking, or rolling to their park. And really, this is about using design elements that make people drive more slowly. And so in engineer speak, it's often referred to as best practice safety countermeasure. Crosswalks, basically making the roadway a little bit more narrow. Things that like automatically make people drive a little slower. And we can work with you to think through opportunities that make these kinds of features of safe street design part of the way that is like, it's the standard practice for roadways. How can we craft messages around the opportunity for different stakeholders, or plan community engagement around a pilot project to show what it could look like? And then there's opportunities to help create an assessment plan to demonstrate the impact. So taking measurements beforehand and after and during, and seeing how it sort of like meets goals, what's the effect. You can use funds to pilot traffic calming measures around a park in the form of a pop-up or a demonstration project, which is just like temporary, can be paint, tape, cones. The real focus here is just kind of slowing down cars and like showing the visual options. And again, I think what's really helpful about this is it can help build the case for permanent improvements, similar to the photo you see here. This is like an example of like a temporary crosswalk. We really encourage you to think about the partners that you have in place, or how one of these strategies might build on the work that you are already doing to determine which one might be a good fit for your community. So if any of these sort of like sparked a lot of interest for you, just think about what partners you have and how it fits into your current work. Vanessa, do you want me to move on to the next piece, or do you want to address the questions about strategies?
Yeah, I want to address the one. Yeah, one of the questions in the chat that I see is, are the early actions listed under each strategy meant to be examples or a menu we choose from? I'm curious how engagement might generate ideas beyond what's listed here. That's a great question. So the examples, the early action examples are really meant to kind of plant some ideas of like, oh, what does this strategy look like in practice? Though certainly what those early actions might end up being, because of, oh, the engagement activities that you're doing may end up being different. But I think based on our experience doing this program in the past, it's actually really can be helpful for communities to have some ideas of like, oh, have a more focused idea of like what this could look like on the ground. Yeah, I don't know, Natasha, is there anything else that you would add to that?
Yeah, I would also say a good number of these are really great engagement tools also. And ways to sort of take, because I'm certain like if you are interested in this work, that something has probably been happening beforehand. So a lot of times there's significant work that you can sort of like build from and like use this to build momentum. But we're happy to talk more about that if you have further questions to clarify.
Mm-hmm. And then the other question really quickly, before we move on, Natasha, is a question about the Safe Streets for All grant and whether or not nonprofits are eligible to apply. And Marisa, thanks for answering that in the chat. Nonprofits are not eligible. but you could partner with a local government or other eligible entity to apply.
I would argue they're an important partner.
Yeah, and I think one thing I will just add is that for our particular grant opportunity, we are also asking for a commitment from a local government agency. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in the subsequent slides. But yeah, those agency partnerships will be also key for this program as well.
Yeah, super essential. And so speaking of that, we can talk about eligibility. If we go to the next slide. So, okay, is this a good fit? So we have this basic eligibility criteria, which fit 501c3, you have that status in Colorado, the state of Colorado. That is a non-negotiable for us, just it's a funding requirement. And we are happy to talk through how like different partners work. Like we have had folks who aren't necessarily 501c3s have a fiscal sponsor, or, you know, like folks partner up. So there's opportunities, just like we need the main grantee to be a 501c3. We want to see that you're committed to advancing racial and social equity and centering community voices and priorities, or that you really want to focus on learning to do more of that. We want to see that you have the capacity and time and sort of like commitment to participating in partnership with a local agency. And so we really want to see them aligned with what you're working on. And I think it can be, you can sort of decide who that is based on the strategy that you want to do. So it makes more sense for certain folks to be involved if that's your strategy. And then finally, your capacity and commitment to carry out engagement and planning activities as required for this program. And we can talk a little bit about what comes with the program. So if you're signing up for this, what you can get is on this next slide. So first, you will have ongoing technical assistance from Safe Routes Partnership staff, and we do our best to really tailor that technical assistance. And by technical assistance, we really mean like we're coaching, like we're sort of like building your capacity, we're answering questions, we're very involved, especially as needs emerge. So for instance, we're pulling together relevant data, we're pulling together example policies and funding opportunities and talking about how to strategize to apply for those things. We can talk to decision makers with you. So like we can set up a meeting and have that conversation, because I know that sometimes having a national organization say exactly what you're saying sometimes gets across a little bit different. And generally, we can help build knowledge around safe routes to parks for both city staff and your own staff. We will have coaching calls at least once a month, and this can be more often, and we're happy to toggle between bi-weekly or monthly calls depending on how, like, the pace of the program at the time. And Safe Routes Partnership staff will facilitate a 1 to 2 day action plan workshop in person, focusing on the strategy that you're working on. So we come into your community, we sort of have these conversations on the ground, and we have found that these have been very, very helpful and a really fruitful part of the program. And then at the end of the grant period, we will have some kind of action plan report that's produced. We will write it for you in partnership so that we can do the writing, but the content really comes together collaboratively. That document will document your work during the program and clear next steps and guidance for how to sustain the work and how to keep moving things forward in your community with your existing resources. And then these final things are that we will work with you to have a really clear plan to sustain that work, like I mentioned, and a $10,000 implementation grant is part of this. So it's really about sort of kickstarting that planning work. And then also there's state level support. As we mentioned, they're sort of tuned in and ready to connect you with whoever needs to be connected. This next slide is what is required. Grantees can really anticipate participating in monthly coaching calls with our staff. We do require participation from a local government agency staff. And we really want to see you guys helping us to sort of assist in planning that in-person action plan workshop and a site visit that should happen around April or May. And then you guys are going to be leading engagement and assessment activities because you guys are the experts in your community. and kind of engaging with those folks. In particular, we really want to see you guys complete activities before the and then we want to see you guys implement one early action to advance your particular program strategy, and we will help you through that from start to finish. And then the final piece is at the end, we will have a final grant report that outlines your work and will help give us insight into what you were able to accomplish during the program. And so we try to keep it pretty simple, but we do need some kind of record of the work that happened.
Thanks so much, Natasha. There we go. So you may be wondering what makes for a good application. And so our first piece of advice is to focus on a park, a neighborhood, a community, people, or a place, whether that's a geographic area or, you know, a certain group of people that have been either underinvested in or disinvested from. Maybe these are people that have not been included in like traditional planning processes in your community, and really trying to focus these resources on communities that could really benefit from park access, right? That haven't had that opportunity. So that's our first piece of advice. The second piece of advice we have is to tell the story, right? Tell us a little bit about why does your community want to work on this? Why is this needed where you live? Share that with us because we are really curious to know. And you know, the more insight you can give us, the more helpful that is for us to help us understand whether or not this would be a good fit for you. And our third piece of advice is for you to demonstrate that your organization or group has a capacity to do this work. So ideally, this program is already aligned with the work that you're doing as an organization or as a group, as a community. So really showing us that this is maybe building off of those existing initiatives or programs or plans. And then we just wanted to note here, because sometimes we get this question, but this grant does not fund the development of any new parks. So in case you're wondering. So yeah. There we go. And just briefly, the program timeline. So I wanted to call out applications are due November 21st. So before we get into the holiday season, we want to have the applications in by then. And then the 4 communities that will be awarded will be December. So in that way we can really hit the ground running the beginning of January with our program. And in January, that's when I will be reaching out to you specifically around scheduling our monthly coaching calls, inviting you to our training. So we will have 2 required trainings for our grantees, an onboarding training and an equity and engagement training in January and February. And then really in those initial months, grantees will be focused on completing at least 2 community engagement activities before our workshops that will be scheduled in April or May. And then after that, grantees will really be focused on like implementing 1 or more early actions from their selected strategies, sort of based on their community engagement, based on the workshop, and really identifying what those early actions might be. And then working with us, like Natasha mentioned, to really refine and finalize your action plan to make it a useful document that documents both your work during the program, but then also provides you with a roadmap of what to do after the 9 months is over, right? And with some really concrete action steps that come next for sustaining this work. And then at the end of September, the grantees will have completed their early actions, and then we'll be completing some of that final reporting that's required to submit to us by mid-October. So that's really the flow of this 9-month program. It goes by really quickly. So that's why we're asking communities to really kind of identify, what do you want to work on during our time together? What can we help you advance? And I just want to end too that we are here to help. you know, if after this presentation you want to go back and talk to your team, or you're still not clear of like, oh, how this program might fit, like we are more than happy to schedule like a quick 20-30-minute call to talk things over with your specific community. I'm also available via email if you have questions that come up when you're thinking about applying. So I want to invite you to take advantage of that. And we'll pop those links in the chat so you can have those handy. And with that, I'm gonna open it up if you have any questions. And Natasha, I don't know if we've had any subsequent questions in the chat, but now is the time to either, if you want to raise your hand in the, you can either, I think there's a virtual raise hand, or you can pop your question in the chat. Either way is fine.
Yeah, our team has been very good about getting answers within the chat, and thank you to the Colorado team as well.
There we go.
Yeah, we try to
I'll
leave
pop
significant
those
time
in.
to chat with questions, so.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of time in case there's anything comes up. Sorry, I'm trying to put those links in there for y'all. And again, we'll have a recording of this available on our website, as well as the slides to share.
Yeah, just to sort of like make sure that everybody sees this. So one question was whether CDPHE can help get sort of like local staff buy-in from local government and staff for this program. And Braden nicely offered, you can email her if you want to chat further or to kind of like discuss if there's like sort of connections that they could help with. But in general, if you do have those connections at all, please do start reaching out, gauging interest, sort of get that conversation started now, so that you can get an application in.
We got a question here. Could you email the link to the slides and recording as well? Yes, we will be following up with everybody that registered with the links, so that way you have those available to share.
Yes, certainly.
Well, if there's no other questions, we will send you off early. This was a great group, and we're really excited to be learning more about Colorado. Natasha, you mentioned you already have a lot of connections to the state, so we're really excited to be supporting those communities there. Awesome.
Yeah,
thank you all so much. And we will leave you all to the rest of your afternoon.